If you are going to actually take account of fiscal drag given inflation, even if it was budgeted at less than 5%, it was going to cost you another 8.5 billion. In other words, if you simply smoothed out the fiscal drag for all categories of income, then what you had to do was, in a sense, give up, in nominal terms, 8.5 billion to get you to the same position there, because you have to alter the rates. And that was why, in order to get more than that, roughly 9.5 billion, one had to then look to see how one was going to increase income tax. So let me ask you a question. Assume, for the purposes of argument, that we increased income tax from 40% to 45% at a level of income of over 1.5 million. I always sort of take a judge's salary as sort of basic out of poverty level. So 1.5 was public, you know that. 1.5 million. If you increase tax at 1.5 million from 40 to 45%, how much income do you think you would have generated in additional tax? Anybody hazard a guess? 5 billion. How much? 300 million. What do you think? There are only 3 people who own 5 billion, okay. Any other offers? It's between the two of you, because it's roughly 3.5 billion, which actually is an astonishingly small figure, I think, if you think about it. For instance, for the entire country, if you increase tax at 1.5 upwards, you're only getting 3.5 billion. And by the way, what that also shows is just how nonsensical some of the populist rubbish is. You know, oh, well, if you simply tax the wealthy, you know, we can plug the gap. Well, the answer is that's not entirely true. And the reason it is entirely true is because we are still, in a sense, the victims of our legacy. That the level of income distribution is so manifestly and egregiously and unfairly distributed that, in fact, one of the problems that we've got is that because we've got such a small base at the top, an increase in the tax rate doesn't necessarily get you anywhere the 9 billion, no 10 billion that you would have wanted. I must say, when we ran the numbers and I discovered this, I was quite surprised myself. I certainly never thought it was 300 million. What I do think, sir, is that when I look at the people who report taxable income of 5 million and more, and I haven't got the figure on me, but it's only a couple of thousand, I think to myself, but there are more people at the Joburg bar earning that than seem to be reflected on the entire thing. So what's going on here? So I'm told, well, the answer is because of capital gains and dividends, but it seems to me a really peculiar figure. But there we are. Nonetheless, so now you've got a problem. You want 9 billion. You can't just get it from the top end, so you've got to broaden the thing, which is why the 1% across the board, except for the lower income group, was taken as the most modest and responsible basis to collect the 9 billion, to allow for the fiscal drag, and in a sense to show that we were serious. Why not that? I suspect there are 2 major reasons for that. Well, I can offer you 2 reasons. Not suspect, I know there are 2 reasons, but there may be more. But at least there are 2. The one is that when we did an econometric model, which I certainly am not clever enough to do, but people give me, at least I can read it, it's this, that if we had increased VAT by 1%, we probably would have increased inflation by about 0.5% and retarded growth by 0.4%. Now, if you accept even you don't have to accept my gloomy figure that I think that growth may be less than 2%, assuming, as I see the rating agencies today, as I learned on the radio, are talking about 2%, assuming that you reduced it by 0.4, that's 1.6. You don't play around with GDPs when you're at this parlous state. So that is a seriously problematic tax, because all taxes are bad, but this was certainly, clearly the evidence was suggesting not good now. The second thing about VAT is it's retrogressive, but it doesn't have to be retrogressive. Now, obviously, so let me explain what I mean by that, because let me get that out of the way. One of the problems about VAT is it's unquestionably the most efficient tax we've got. The World Bank has run a study for us. Again, it was a huge disappointment for me, even though it's something that we should be proud of, which indicates that we have, they think it's the most efficient VAT system in the world. Meaning, what they do by way of modeling is to see what would you expect the VAT take to be on our economic accounts, and what is the effective rate of VAT, right, is what is it you're collecting, and then to compare the two. And obviously there's always going to be some hemorrhaging. But our collection was so close to optimum that, in fact, our system actually works superbly. Why was I disappointed? Because I was hoping there'd be 20 billion that I could have collected through fraudulent activity, and then one wouldn't have had to bother you with the 1% or the fuel levy. But alas, the efficiency here was great.